Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This week at Safeway, shop the 10 for $10 produce sale. With the 10 for $10 produce sale, get items like large avocados, mangoes, green, red, orange, or yellow bell peppers, cucumbers, large lemons, or 16-ounce bags of Signature Farms baby-peeled carrots for the member price of just $1 each. Plus, select meats like Signature Farms 80% lean ground beef and Signature Select extra meaty pork loin back ribs are buy one, get one free this week. Hurry in before these deals are gone. Visit Safeway.com for more deals.
Play football on a Good Friday, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Bring back all your stars at once, they said. That worked out well, hey, Drew?
It was good. At least it was out the way and we could enjoy the rest of the weekend. I don't know if I can say anything else positive about it. I also had to get up early the next morning and decided I would skip the last quarter and watch it at a later date. I don't think there was any real reason. At least I lasted longer than some of the Eagles fans at the game who were leaving in the second term.
I actually had a very important family dinner. So I turned the phone off and then it's with my girlfriend's family and they're big Swans fans. So once the dinner was done, we take the game at their house. Everyone turned their phones off. Watched it afterwards. I said it was late at night by the time we finished dinner. I said I'd watch the first half of them, watch the second half back at home. I walked out 7 minutes into the first quarter. I just walked out of the house. I'd had enough. They were carrying on. We were pathetic. I watched the rest at home in absolute misery.
Yeah, well done for continuing to watch. I mean, it was pretty clear early on, wasn't it? It was going sideways and fairly quickly. Did you think that we were a chance to win? Just quickly. Were you hopeful?
I thought we were an outside chance. I tipped the Swans.
Yeah.
I thought once McGovern went out, that all changed for me. And I do want to talk about that today, and that is my burning topic is selection. It has been for Eagles fans. So let's have a deep discussion about that in a moment. But once McGovern went out, I went, no, I don't think we can win. I think he's kept us in, every game virtually, apart from the Dockers one, which was a blowout. The other games, one of which we managed to snare against the Pies, he kept us in all of them. So once he went out, I thought, no, well, there goes our chances. So, but I thought if our guns turn up and they're at their best from the start, we're an outside chance. You?
No, I didn't. And in fact, I told a few people I think we'd lose by 60 plus. That was just the feel that I had. And I was worried about bringing the veterans back all at once. And I just think McGovern and Nat Nui are our two most important players.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to laud all of the youngsters and the fringe guys who have been so good this season, the reason we beat Collingwood was because of McGovern and Nat Nui. McGovern for the first three quarters being completely impassable. And then Nick Nat, he won about 3 or 4 crucial clearances for us in the last quarter. And so my view was that we were going to struggle without our key pillars holding us together. And I mean, to be honest, even if they had have played, it wouldn't have mattered really. But that made it a lot tougher for us. I mean, we lost every single contest and ground ball for about the first 20 minutes. And they just completely cut us to ribbons. It was really awful, wasn't it? And last year that we had some really bad losses and they were less forgivable. There's still a big part of me that says, we have to understand the whole context of the season when we're judging the performance. And this is the first time that this has really happened. It was pretty bad against Freo, but this was embarrassing. I mean, to be honest, I honestly think Sydney could have won probably 200 to 15 if they wanted to. They really could have absolutely gutted us, but they didn't need to. They took their foot off the pedal basically at 56-0. So we're lucky in some ways.
We were. They also gave us a little let off in the first 5 to 7 minutes. They kicked one and they missed 4 easy shots. And then we got it back, and I thought, all right, they're giving us a let off here. Maybe we can get back into this game. And we went forward 4 or 5 times, and the McCartan brothers marked it in packs uncontested. Jack Darling did not put up a contest. And it's one of the burning questions we'll get onto for this week, and we'll look at it when the team's announced as to whether he keeps his spot or not. He did not put up a contest. And I don't even know what he did after that. I don't think he kicked one. Possession numbers were low. But my heart sunk after that little period of play. When we got the ball back, tried to get back into the game, and our number one key forward, our centre-half forward, didn't have to mark it. Make a contest. And they just marked it, impacts uncontested, and sent it all the way back, and the game was over.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the game at GMHBA Stadium last season against the Swans, where we didn't move the ball at all in the first half, and we were blown off the park. And then when they got the ball, they would just tear us apart. So the Swans have beaten us in 14 of the last 17 matchups. So they have our number. Doesn't matter what personnel is out there. And like everyone played bad. Like everyone was just crap, and there was no positives, and it was embarrassing. And, I worked Friday morning, which sucks working on Good Friday, obviously, but that's part of the job. And I was looking forward to watching the Eagles all day, as much as I was also a bit apprehensive. So that, just from a pure fan perspective, for those who turned up to the game, for those who love West Coast and were looking forward to watching them play, it was such a letdown, like so disappointing to have to think, oh, do I really want to sit through this? Like, good on the people for leaving, because honestly, it was a waste of a Good Friday.
Yeah, no, it was one of those games where supporters had a right to walk out early. We were all in that frame of mind. We came off that great win against the Pies, could not wait for it. Friday night, the team's performances, spirit-wise and energy-wise, and from a competitive point of view, were at such a good level. We were excited for a big game. I don't think any Eagles fans went in there going, we have to win this. We were just excited to watch that spirit then with the guns returning on Friday night, Good Friday, against a quality team. We were just pumped for it, right? To watch our team in action amid all of that. And then they don't turn up. Yeah, you're within your right to say, this game's not for me. Supporters can do that from time to time. Sometimes teams need supporters to live for them. Other times teams need to live for supporters. And when they produce that, yeah, I'm with you. I didn't blame them either. And that disheartening aspect of it as well, Drewy, was the team selection, which let's get onto it now. So hindsight's 2020, but for me, he made a mistake. It didn't sit well with me. We spoke about it last week. I didn't see him dropping O'Neill. He did. And West goes out with a bit of an injury, but bringing them all back at once after McGovern goes out, as soon as I saw that team news and I tweeted about it and the majority of the responses were apprehensive, it just didn't sit well. And I just thought it's not the right rein to pull. It's not the right message to send. And you're throwing too many underdone players into a game against the third best team in the comp right now on form behind Brisbane and Melbourne. And you're throwing them to the wolves. And it turned out that way. I just don't think he got it right.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, it felt wrong. And supposedly now West had an injury. So I guess you can understand that one a little bit more. I just think it was a wrong decision to drop O'Neill. We felt that before the game. And then it brings it into sharp focus afterwards. And listening to the boys on Fox Footy talk about it, they spoke about how it's incumbent on the senior players who come back to match the intensity and the effort of the guys they're replacing. And they really should feel that and understand their responsibility. And I didn't think we got it, but is it because they weren't capable or they weren't willing, or was it a bit of both? I just can't see how Tim Kelly can't have, let's say, just TK, for example, watched the game the previous week and thought, geez, I can't wait to get back into this team and continue on with the momentum, the pressure, really bring the heat and continue that standard. I just can't understand how a professional athlete wouldn't want to do that. So I don't want to put it on them and blame them for it. I just think they probably weren't capable. I just don't see why Kelly couldn't have played Waffle. And Shuey, I can understand a little more that he didn't, because he played really well against North and then he misses a couple due to health and safety protocols, but they were gearing him back up to come in.
I didn't have an issue with Kelly and Shuey coming back. I thought they were the two that had to come straight back in.
Yeah.
Shuey's the captain, played really well against North. Kelly had played a game, star player. Those two for mine came in for Edwards and Hoff, no dramas. Bailey Williams comes in for Nick Nat. That makes sense. You asked me last week, does Yo come in? I said yes. That changes for me once McGovern goes out. Now, you might say it's different positions, but you got to look at it in context and say, well, hang on, we're losing our most important player and the person who's plugged it all up. We can't throw another underdone midfielder in with that in mind. So, Yowie, I'm sorry, we're giving you a week in the waffle. We're playing Xavier O'Neill because he's up to speed. He's coming off his best ever game for the club. We know that his contest and his fitness will be there for 4 quarters. We have to play it that way with McGovern out. We can't afford a little drop off against such a good side. And I wouldn't have played Jamie Cripps, Drewy. Like, I know he's a champion of the club, 200 games, awesome work ethic, but he hadn't played a game all pre-season, had a long-term injury. He's not Toby Green. Why did Jamie Cripps have to come straight back in? Why didn't he have a week in the waffle? That didn't make sense to me.
I wouldn't have played Cripps. I would have played him in the waffle. And that's probably the O'Neill spot. Not necessarily that Xavier would have played sort of half forward or small forward, but just, yeah, maybe we might have been a midfielder short. I think is it Tommy on Twitter? I think he pointed out that we probably, given we had some underdone mids, maybe that was a mistake to not have the extra one in the team to roll through. Anyway, it's tough, isn't it? Because ultimately this didn't decide the game. Like, we were beaten so convincingly and so badly that really it doesn't matter. But it's just it's an optics thing. We talk about culture and synergy, and Simmo's banged on about it and how he's trying to, create this squad mentality and everyone matters and feels special. And then that action didn't seem to reflect what we'd been talking about as a club. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. It didn't add up at all. Xavier O'Neill deserved to play based on his first month. And bringing all of them back at the same time, no, there should have been a message set, and that not only do you have to get up to speed, especially Jamie Cripps, who hadn't played at all, and Yowie and Yowie too. They hadn't played a proper game up until then. And I get the theory that, we've got to get them up and going at some stage. But you also got to ensure that our contest levels and our fitness levels as a team are up to standard, or else you get humiliated, which we did. Those changes wouldn't have led to us winning the game, but it would have at least put a guaranteed contest in. Still get Yo and Cripps up to speed. Yo had played one waffle game, but they get up to speed more and more. And Yowie, I think, should have played if McGovern was there, but he wasn't, so that changes. But they get up to speed through the waffle, and it sends that message that we are rewarding the blokes who have served us so well against all the odds over the first month. And I just thought it played with that too much. And now it's incumbent on them to repay the coach and to make up for it. And hopefully Simmo's theory that we had to get them up to speed rings true. But geez, we're starting from another step back, aren't we, after that one?
Yeah. God, Shuey was bad. Like, I love him, but he was horrific. Anyway, so let's just round out this game, because honestly, I can't do it. I can't keep talking about it. So the votes. Yeah. Do you want to run through yours? Honestly, I don't think anyone played well.
So just on the Swans, they were always going to come out breathing fire. Like, they've had a poor game against the Dogs. They should have been done by 5 goals. They were lucky to be in it. They should have lost to North. So they were always going to come out breathing fire, and they burnt us early and we couldn't recover. So credit to them. But it was always likely to play out that way, which is why I can't understand why we were just off it from the start. Anyway, my vote's Barras 5. Like, he, tried his best down back, thought he was really good. Naishi 4, like, he just presented the whole time. He didn't have anything to kick to more often than not. Turned it over a couple of times because no one was presenting. But the back half of the wing area, he just constantly presented, gave an option, got his hands on the footy, tried to get us going. Liam Ryan worked hard, kicked 3, put some big tackles on. Nice to see that from him. Jack Redden battled away, kicked a goal, and I thought Alex Witherden tried to get us going from the back. So 5 Barras, 4 Naish, 3 Ryan, 2 Redden, and 1 to Witho, who, tried to get us moving in the right direction, but again, didn't have many options.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. I have been impressed with Witherden's response to that shocker he had against North. I think he's sort of starting to play decent football, which is good. Redden tried hard, obviously. Didn't mind Duggan's game as well. But yeah, that would be pretty similar to yours, Garby. And the overall from the Nest listeners, Barras 5, Naish 4, Ryan 3, Redden 2, and Witherden 1. Duggan got the same amount of votes as Witherden, but defers to Witho because he got a 4 voter and Duggan didn't. So, and then Foley, Williams, and Shuey all got a vote. I think Shuey got a vote just for sticking up for Patrick Naish in that little fisticuffs that happened there. So I would say, if you don't have the votes in front of you, that Gavin, Barras, and Naish are all at the top.
I'm looking for them. I'm actually searching. You're probably here. Like Kevin Bartley used to do on SEN radio. You can hear the
flicking through papers.
Flicking through papers. But I'll try and find them. But I had Naish will close the gap on Gov. That's for sure, which is it's just a great story, really. I mean, I'll throw to my burning question now. Then one of them I had for you, Drewy. Mm-hmm. Where does Patrick Naish at the end of the season finish in our best and fairest?
Well, he'll be top 10. I mean, I just think it's. I've got burning questions for you, and Naish is in my 5, but we're only asking 3. But I just think it's a great story to come as a late season signing. He was with St Kilda. West Coast wanted to get him over to give him a go, but had to wait for the border restrictions to ease. And he couldn't have taken the opportunity with 2 hands more. Like, it's been so impressive from him. He's proven himself to be a really serviceable AFL player. But not only that, an absolute pro. He's kept himself in good condition over the off-season, coming off the back of an ultimately unsuccessful stint at Richmond, where, obviously the Tigers have been a great side, but he's had a decent football grounding, and his father was a good player, so he comes from good stock. But to be able to slot in and play his way, and the Eagles have liked using his skills, like he's become part of the game plan where get it to Naish out in the wing and he'll try and hit a 45 or a switch into the middle of the ground. And they didn't come off. Like, he had probably his poorest game really against the Swans, but it wasn't his night. And the kicks that he was hitting against Collingwood, he didn't hit against the Swans. But, he still played well and got plenty of the footy. So, yeah, top 10, and I'm going to say probably top 6 for Naish in the best and fairest.
He's just behind Gov in the Nest medal. So Gov's on 16. We've got Naishi on 10 votes, who's level with Willie Rioli. So they've jumped up in second place to be level with him. We've got Redden up to 7. So they're the top 3 at the moment. Gov on 16. Willie Rioli and Paddy Naish on 10, and Jack Redden on 7 votes. So that's one of the pleasing aspects of, I guess, if we're going to find one positive out of Friday night, Patrick Naish putting in another good performance, and I reckon he could be top 5 in our best and fairest by the end of the season. I think he'll only get better. Another burning question from me, Drewy. Does Jack Darling play this week?
Yes, because of how much faith Simmo has in his senior players. If the question is, should he play this week? The answer is probably no.
Right.
But at what point do you say, well, stuff it, like we've got to have Jake Waterman show us why he's the next guy. Like, we know Josh is going to keep doing his role for the rest of the season. Unfortunately, the Oscar Allen situation has complicated things by the fact that he's been back in a moon boot and his return is being delayed. So obviously you feel like Darling should be dropped.
Oh, I'm on one more week, only because of Simmo's theory of getting all the guns back up to speed. So if he's going with that, which he clearly has based on the team he picked last week, then you go all in on that. And that means you back them all in again. So, Xavier O'Neill might come in for someone. He probably does. Gov comes back, you would think. For Harry Edwards has been poor. That's one thing we should probably touch on, Drewy. We gave him a big pump up last season. I don't think he's fired a shot this season, to be honest. I've been really disappointed with him, unfortunately. Youngster, he'll come back. He's talented. We know that, but hasn't looked anywhere near the signs he showed in his first 5 or so games. So I think Gov comes in for him if he's right. He gets out of protocols early enough. But I think you just got to back them all in and say, well, I picked you all last week. You were putrid. I'm going with you again. And most of them probably get another week after that. Not Jack, because he's been in the team for a while now. He's starting off a low base. There's a bit of sentiment against him. He's got to produce this week against Port. Otherwise, drop him, because you can't play like that at this standard for that long.
It was such a departure from, say, like the last quarter against Collingwood the week before. And for him to do that in a fourth quarter, I was like, okay, so his match fitness is getting a bit better, and maybe he's starting to turn a corner here. But yeah, he was horrible. And yeah, I mean, everyone was bad. So again, it's hard to single blokes out. I think if Oscar Allen was available to play, then Darling would have to go out, because Kennedy's, he's playing decent footy for what he's being able to produce and what the team is doing. Like, Kennedy couldn't have a possibly worse last season scenario than his team being bad. Like, any key forward is reliant on good service and your team being in good form. And especially when he can't do what he used to do, like, he needs good delivery. He needs time in forward half, all that stuff. Anyway, so one of mine was also, what do we do when Allen is back? That was one of my big burning questions. So I think West Coast get to the buys and they're trying to win. Like, you pick your best players, get all the guns back, let the cavalry return, all that stuff, which Simmo is obviously determined to do. And then I think you probably reassess at the buy. You reckon?
I think so, but what can we've got so many gun players who are seasoned. Like, what do we do? Like, people talk about, rebuilding or whatnot. Like, I don't understand what else we can do except for trying to win every game for the rest of the season. Like, not going to stick, Jack Darling in the twos all season long, are you? I mean, Andrew Gaff, are you going to really do that? I don't know how else we play it other than trying to win every game. Like, if you got 1 or 2 older players, it's a bit different, but we've got a lot in that bracket. How else do we play it other than just going for it every single week, even if we're still stuck in this predicament come the midpoint of the season?
Well, I just think the forward line is a special example because you've got Kennedy and Darling and Oscar Allen, and then you've got Jake Waterman, and you've got maybe a second ruckman, and Hugh Dixon or Bailey Williams, whatever the mix is. There is scope to leave one of those out. And if Darling keeps playing crap, then just put him in the twos. And if Gaff is playing crap, put him in the twos, or make Sheed earn his spot back when he's back from his ankle.
Yeah, Gaff is the one I've spoken about that. I have doubts as to whether he'll be in the team come the end of the season. Obviously, performance comes into it. I mean, Hearn and Kennedy, as I said at the start of the campaign, there's every chance they retire midway through the season potentially. If it's going that way, they say, listen, we're pulling the pin now, and you can play the youngsters for the benefit of everyone.
Well, I don't want that to happen. So I'm not going to talk it into existence. But at the moment, they're still playing well enough to be in our starting 18. So
yeah.
So, burning question. Yo, Shuey, Kelly, is this our best starting mid lineup? And if not, what is?
It is our best. I don't think we've seen it. I think Simmo said it's actually less than 10 games they've all played together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's our best on-ball division. Redden's the other one that can slot in there, but he's the fourth banana really to those three at their absolute best.
Is it the best thing for our team?
Yeah.
Will we perform at our best with those three as a starting mid? I'm not saying no. I'm asking you the question.
I think so. So I think you've got enough defensive acumen from Yo, enough attacking quality from Kelly, and Shuey can do it both ways. So I think you do have a solid enough on-ball mix there. They're not all three of them are trying to get onto the ball and run forward straight away. There's a nice balance there. We just haven't seen them together. But yeah, I still think that's our best on-ball trio. You?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just wondering if we should be doing with Kelly what Geelong did, because it's not really working that well. Let's be honest. He looks like at the moment we've completely overpaid for him. Yeah. So and it was a very simplistic graphic they just flicked up on the couch, I think, just showing his games and goals. Like he kicked a goal a game at Geelong and he's kicked 11, I think, for West Coast. Like, so should we be looking at what Geelong did with him? Because he looked like an absolute superstar at Geelong and he's looked pretty middling for us.
Well, I said it when we lost that final to Collingwood and he got tagged out of the game by Hugh Greenwood.
Yeah, you did.
Should have been moved to half forward. I don't see why we don't do that often enough. But start him in the middle, but why not play him as a half forward from time to time to break tags, to have a little breather? Look what Sydney do with Luke Parker. They send him there a lot. He kicked 5 against the Giants doing that. Why can't we move him out there more? We leave him on the ball far too often. We're too rigid with that. Say, go have a little break at half forward for 5 minutes. Get rid of your tag. We still got Sheed and Redden and players that we can put through there when they all come back. I've long thought that for sure. But I still think his best position is as a midfielder.
So they played Yo in defence a little bit, partially due to his conditioning. And it just reminded me of when he played halfback for a couple of years and he was borderline All-Australian. I was like, I didn't mind this. Like, I kind of liked Yo in defence, giving us that bounce and that long kick. So if Yo was playing like 60-40 defence and then a bit of midfield, like, I don't hate that. Like, I've liked Willie Rioli, say, playing as a centre bounce attendant and playing through the midfield. So, like, do we just say, stuff this? Like, let's get Rioli some more mid-time. Let's play Kelly at half forward a bit. Let's get Yo at half back a bit. Let's mix and match a little, get guys through there. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, I just think the days are gone of having those three in there. Like, where's that taking us? Nowhere.
Fair enough.
So that's just a thought for you.
I just want to see them try to do it when they're all back. We just haven't seen it enough.
God, wouldn't it be great?
Oh.
It'd be fantastic. I reckon that was at the Port Adelaide game last year where we last season when we looked like an absolute $1 million and Luke Shuey had a ball terror of a game. I reckon those three might have been playing together that night. That was unreal.
I've got one more burning question for you.
Go.
My third. At what stage are you going to tear every strand of hair out at the constant chopping and changing, which seems like it'll take place again this week, between Jones, Petruccelli, and Langdon? Last season, it was Archie as well. Now he's gone. But I can just see the merry-go-round going on all season long. Jermaine Jones, Jack Petruccelli, Zach Langdon. How frustrating is it going to get?
Oh, very. Yeah. I mean,
it's going to be nonstop, right?
If one of them could just grab the position with both hands and keep it, that would be nice. But Petruccelli is a very distant third for me out of those three. I just think Jermaine Jones is going to get dropped this week. I do. He hasn't had much influence the last few weeks. As much as I like how tough he is, he's stopped getting the ball.
Yeah.
Like, he's had about 10 possessions over the last 2 games. I think he'll probably have a spell.
Well, so he hasn't kicked a goal in his last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
JJ and Petruccelli do this every season. They have one great game, you think they've arrived, and 3 quiet ones.
Mm-hmm.
One great one, 3 quiet ones. They have the disparity between their 8 out of 10 game and 4 out of 10 game is just, the regularity of it is so stark. Zach Langdon at least gives you 6.5 out of 10 most weeks.
Yeah, he's the most consistent. He just has the lowest ceiling.
Correct.
Just one more for you, just cognizant of time here. The Zon Riddle, Xavier O'Neill, where exactly does he fit?
He comes in this week as the last midfield option, but in the team. And so he maybe starts on the bench, but whenever he's on, he's straight on the ball. Keep giving us that contest. Should have played last week. I've got him back in the team this week. And he just plays on the ball. And then when he does, you got the chance to send Shuey or Kelly or Yo forward for a rest if they're not on the pine having a break.
I agree exactly and wholeheartedly. So he is not able to play any other position, but you can put some of our other gun players into other positions. So if he's going to play, then you use him as someone who rotates on the ball or
Correct.
holds a defensive wing or, whatever. So hopefully they do that this week. So that leads into changes. So what do you want to see?
So I've got Gov back, assuming he can return, which seems likely. O'Neill in, and then Jake Waterman in. So out Harry Edwards, Jermaine Jones, and it's just who you drop for Jake Waterman. I'd bring him in. I think he'll suit the Adelaide Oval well, bigger ground. We could use another marking target, especially the way Jack's playing at the moment. But he can also run, as we know. I'd like to see Jake back in. I think he's been unlucky to be out, but his form hasn't been superb either. I mean, are you dropping Hugh Dixon? Are you dropping Zach Langdon to bring Jake Waterman in? Can we afford to drop Dixon because we need a second ruck option for Bailey Williams? It's probably going to be Langdon again, right? And then are you a bit too tall? Is it just the two changes? Just Gavin O'Neill in for Harry Edwards and Jermaine Jones? It's a third change I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I'd like to see Waterman play. Just a question of how you fit him in. I mean, you got to do something. So we need to mark the ball like on the wing and forward of that, which we weren't able to do last week. So if Waterman can provide that connective, he needs to be Tom Lynch, as in the former, Adelaide. Like that's Jake Waterman at his best. Like he can be that. That would be sensational. So hopefully he can provide us something. But yeah, O'Neill, put your house on it. He will play. He had 24 on the waffle, so he'll come back into the side. So Port Adelaide, whenever we play at Adelaide Oval, I just have all these fond memories of us beating either the Crows or Port there. We've had a great record at that ground, and we've had some stirring wins there. Of course, none greater than the elimination final. Yeah. We also kicked a goal after the siren. Jeremy McGovern kicked that disgusting floater after the siren to beat them when we came back. Remember, two of their players ran into each other, and they were 2 down, and we just stormed home. Liam Ryan took a hanger, kicked a goal from 50, and then McGovern drifted forward and kicked one after the siren. Lots of fond memories. Do you think coming up against a 0-5 Port Adelaide, they're just going to come out chomping at the bit to get at what is, still a ravaged team?
Yeah, of course they will be. We've won our last 5 there, I'm quite sure.
We don't lose there. No, we don't lose at that ground.
Record. The ground suits us. Shuey always plays well there, so he'll be inspired by that. We're a silly chance, but I just think Port with Wines back, another week into Robbie Gray, another week into Alia. Are they really going to start the season 0-6 when their 6th game is against us at home? I just can't see it.
There's just too much on the line for them. Like
if they lose,
there's too much.
I think he's gone, right? He might as well just not even bother going to work the next day.
I'm trying to imagine the scenario of how it all plays out if Port lose. Like it's almost untenable.
Yeah, you'd have to sack Hinkley.
And I think he's a great coach, and I don't think you deserve to be sacked 6 games after 2 consecutive prelims. But it's like, what do you do? Like they cannot lose.
No,
they can't. We've got too much. We've got too much of an out. There's too many excuses for us. There's no excuses for Port.
Yeah. So I can't see it happening, but they're down on confidence. If we start well, and this should surely be the message, just start well, make sure we're in the game early. Those seeds of doubt will creep into their mind, and the fans, their frustration will boil over because they'll expect to win. They'll want a pressure reliever. If we can just somehow stick with them and just increase the tension on them, maybe we can spring a surprise and win. Outside of that, I mean, we're clinging and clutching at straws here. I just think there's too much in favour of them.
No Charlie Dixon for them is massive for us. He plays like Buddy against the Eagles. I don't know why. He always tears us apart. In that elimination final, he kicked like 3 goals, 7. Like he should have won the game for him, and he kicked 6 or 7 against us in the hub. So I think they don't walk as tall without Charlie, and even though I think he's a little overrated, he always plays well against us. So that's good for us. That's a plus.
Yeah. I think we can match them on the ball. Like their on-ball division has not been dynamic. Wines back makes a big difference, of course, but they've got Boak and Drew. They're not dynamic players. They're just good contest players who win it a lot. Without Lysette, big blow. So their ruck division weak like ours. I think our guns in there, if they're at a much higher level, can match it with them. The problem that we're going to have, and I think our key defenders obviously can can lock down on their tools. The onus on us is going to be on stopping the likes of Amon, Rosie, Butters, those players. So I look to a Witherden, I look to Liam Duggan, Jackson Nelson, Luke Foley. Our halfbacks and our wingers have got to be at their best because they can run us off the park and break us on the outside there through those players, and that's where they can break the game open, assuming we match them in those other areas where we can on paper. That's where they seem to have a bit of an advantage over us. So those boys need to be at their best.
I can just imagine like Rosie or Butters having a 30-3 game. Like we just don't have that guy who's capable of doing that. And that definitely...
Duggan.
Yeah.
Duggan needs a big game. Witherden needs a big game. Foley, Naishi, when he's running the other way. They need to have big games defensively.
All right, Garby, let's hope it's more pleasant viewing than Good Friday, although that wouldn't be hard, would it?
It wouldn't be hard. Thanks, mate. Have a good weekend. Go the Eagles.
Go, boys.
This week at Safeway, shop the 10 for $10 produce sale. With the 10 for $10 produce sale, get items like large avocados, mangoes, green, red, orange, or yellow bell peppers, cucumbers, large lemons, or 16-ounce bags of Signature Farms baby peeled carrots for the member price of just $1 each. Plus, select meats like Signature Farms 80% lean ground beef and Signature Select extra meaty pork loin back ribs are buy one, get one free this week. Hurry in before these deals are gone. Visit Safeway.com for more deals.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.